I was researching the Morai X Twilight ship recently and ended up going down the weirdest rabbit hole I've been down since the My Little Pony video I made a few months back. And I must say, some of the ships I found are weird, cringe, and even incestuous. And since I had to see them, I think you have to see them as well. Now, for people who don't know, shipping is basically when people take an interest or hope for a romantic relationship between famous people or fictional characters, whether or not a romance is actually budding between the people or not. An example of this happening with famous people would be like Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, and for fictional characters we can go with somebody like Steven and Connie. Now, these two examples are very reasonable and understandable. Zendaya and Timothée shipping started after they were casted in a sci-fi movie called Dune, and some of the scenes were very intimate. And while I think that Steven and Connie are officially dating now, for a long time they were dancing around the idea, which is why so many fans actually shipped them to begin with. And now that we have some good examples of shipping, let's get into the weird side of the shipping community, starting with Morai X Rigby. Now, the Morai X Rigby ship is one of the easiest ones to explain on this list. People started to ship these two characters because they are best friends, which is something that we see a lot in the shipping community, especially with boys who are friends or boys that have some type of rivalry. We also see this type of ship happen a lot in anime. Think about like Naruto and Sasuke, who have a ton of artwork on the internet of them actually making out. Or if you want to bring it to more recent time, think of characters like Deku and Bakugo, which have some absolutely crazy images online. This right here is one of the tamer ones that I can find, but if you really go down a rabbit hole, it gets weird. Now, one thing that really made the Morai and Rigby ship blow up was a comic strip made by a creator by the name of Warden X3, which goes like this. Morai basically confronts Rigby for eating all the cookies, but then Rigby says, "See, I saved you one." So Rigby says, "Do you want it?" And of course Morai does, so he goes in and he takes the cookie out of his mouth with his mouth, says thank you, and then moves on. Now, while the comic wasn't too bad, a lot of people didn't like the idea of these two characters being in a gay relationship, while others just simply hated the fact of shipping these two together at all. Personally, I didn't think it was that bad, and at the end of the day, if you can't kiss the homie, then are y'all really even friends? Now, if you thought that the Morai and Rigby ship was weird, then buckle up because it's only gonna get weirder. Next on our list, we have Morai X Twilight, which kind of started this whole rabbit hole journey to begin with. And if you're anything like me, I'm sure that this is not a ship that you were ever expecting to see, and yet it's been floating around the internet for years, specifically since around 2011. Some of you may have seen it recently because it's gotten a resurgence due to TikTok, and most popular amongst those is this video by a creator named Rai Roman. If you watch the TikTok, you'll notice that the song Airplanes is playing in the background by B.O.B. and Hayley Williams from the band Paramore. And something I found interesting is that this meme ship got so popular that Hayley even responded to it, simply saying, "I don't get it, guys." And something else that I found interesting while looking into the history of this ship is that the original creator never actually expected this ship to blow up. Morai was just a small part of a fanfic that she wrote that had several fandom crossovers and was like 23 chapters long. Twilight and Morai basically got together because Morai comforted her while she was recovering from being rejected by a character called Red, or aka the Tallest from Invader Zim. And just so people won't yell at me in the comments, Red didn't technically reject her. It sounds more like unrequited love, meaning that she loved him, but he had eyes for someone else. Now, even though Morai and Twilight had only a tiny moment together, it was enough to spark a meme that has stayed alive for 13 years now, meaning that this meme is probably older than some of the people watching this video. Now, this next one gets even weirder, so buckle up. This is the Blossom X creator ship, and it's as bad as it sounds. This one had the internet in a uproar for a while, and while it turned out to not be as bad as people initially thought, it still seems a bit strange when you look at the full picture. Now, back in 2017, there was a rumor going around that claimed that Jake Goldman, who was one of the writers for the Powerpuff Girl reboot, had inserted himself into the show. Now, this wouldn't have been too bad if he was just like a teacher or something, but he inserted himself as a child and was even a romantic interest to Blossom, one of the Powerpuff Girls. Now, people believe this to be true because the inserted character that went by the name Jared did resemble Goldman quite a bit, and the character was even voiced by Goldman. And people were also bringing up interviews where Goldman seemed to be slightly obsessed with Blossom, or at least so people thought.
Jake, who's your Powerpuff Girl?
I'm gonna say Blossom 100%. Oh no, easily, because I think just her energy. I'm always thinking like that, and I'm always like, everything needs to be like laid out. I put on my gloves and I lay everything out, and then if I had the hair for bows, I would wear them all the time.
Now, once people really started getting wind of a grown man inserting himself into a underage relationship, people started to go to the Powerpuff Girl wiki and leave terrible comments and basically asking for the show to be canceled. The heat did eventually get turned down a bit when one of the big wigs at Cartoon Network put out a statement saying that Goldman didn't actually even create Jared and he didn't insert himself into the cartoon technically. They also explained that it's not weird for writers to sometimes step in and also do a bit of voice acting. Now, while this did pacify some people, a lot of people still thought that it was a very weird decision to make, and other incidents such as Buttercup kissing this princess, which is weird because this character obviously looks like an adult or at least near adult and is kissing this very small child. I don't know exactly how old the Powerpuff Girls are supposed to be in the reboot, but I remember that in the original they were literal kindergartners, which is also why people were pissed off when they put in this scene of the girls twerking alongside this bear. So after me explaining all this, maybe you can understand why people still believe that the self-insert was done on purpose and not simply an accident. And this may also explain why the reboot only got 3 seasons, unlike the original Powerpuff Girls, which got about 6. Now, since we did a heavy ship, let's do another fun one with Sonic and Rainbow Dash, which I will just call Sonic Dash for the rest of this section. Now, this ship started out with people just trying to figure out who is faster between Rainbow Dash and Sonic. And just to put the debate to rest, Sonic is way faster, being more on par with like a character like Flash. But once people started talking about these characters together, they started to notice a lot of similarities in their personalities, such as both of them being extremely loyal, prideful when it comes to their speed, and very competitive. People think of them as being like a power couple, and honestly, I don't hate this ship because it actually makes sense in a way. Now, while the Sonic Dash ship makes sense, this next one I can't really say the same for, and that is the Shadow and Shrek ship. This ship started out as a meme based on this artwork of Shadow saying a tearful goodbye to Shrek, and the internet just ran away with it. Just like with the Mortartwise ship, this ship also has a song attached to it, which is Every Time We Touch by the artist Cascada, who was popular back in 2006. Put down in the comments if you actually remember the song. I remember because it was popular when I was like a sophomore in high school. Now, funny enough, I think a lot of people thought that this meme ship would just burn out pretty fast, but even today you can still find a ton of artwork for this very unlikely pair. Now, this last ship probably shouldn't be on the list, but it actually grossed me out a bit, so I'm going to talk about it. And this is the Dipper and Mabel ship, which are the twins from Gravity Falls. And the ship has garnered the name Pinecest, combining the twins' last name, which is Pine, and the word incest. Now, even though this ship is crazy popular, I have some hope left in humanity because it is also heavily hated by the Gravity Falls community and beyond. And the reason that these shippers have for pairing these two in the first place is that they seem to act as like a yin and yang to each other. Dipper being a deep thinking introvert and Mabel being a more outgoing extrovert, which I'm sure you all agree with me when I say that is absolutely no reason to ship siblings. To get around some of the backlash, the shippers usually make their artwork of these two aged up, meaning that they are like adults or teenagers, which still doesn't make it much better in my opinion. One thing that I do love about the Gravity Falls community though is that there are a ton of creators that just make great artwork and animations of the siblings having a regular, healthy sibling relationship. A prime example being a creator by the name of Mike and Nell. Now, based on the thumbnail, I thought it was going to be like a FBI open up type of moment, but it was actually a very sweet animation. Now, while doing research for this video, I found so many more weird ships. So if you enjoyed this video and you want me to continue down this rabbit hole, let me know down in the comments and I'll make a part 2. Peace, peace.